guys want to see new cards? Probably because you clicked this video. Hello, YouTube. Everyone in Twitch chat can say they want to be on YouTube. But anyway, let's just get right into this. So they released all of the cards. So we already did one video talking about the first 62 cards, I believe we did. But then we're just going to go through the rest of them right now. So let's just get right into it. The first one we have here is a legendary for Priest. 2 mana 1/1, but Serena Bloodfeather. Battlecry, choose an enemy minion, steal attack and health from it until this has more. So, I mean, this seems pretty straightforward. So, like, for example, if your opponent has a 5/5, it works out better if you steal odd numbers, technically. But if you steal 2/2 from a 5/5, this will be a 3/3. So it'll still need to grow. So this thing will actually steal 3/3. It'll go to a 4/4. You play a 2 mana 4/4 that also turns your opponent's 5/5 into a 2/2. It's extremely good. But even if you use this on a 3/3, it's better than a 2-drop. So this card is just extremely good. There's a lot of cards that are like this. They're just extremely good. Not too much more to say. It's fortunate that this card at least doesn't exist with a lot of the steel cards. If this existed with Shadowboundness, you could imagine like you could just like steal a Ysera or something, you know? So good thing the steel cards have been removed. Otherwise this would be really frustrating as well, but I think as a legendary you won't see it that much. Next we have a rogue legendary. Apothecary Helbrim. 4 mana 3/2, Battlecry and Death Rattle. Add a random poison to your hand. So this is literally a reprint of Zeril, but instead of getting toxins, it gives you poisons, which I guess are about as good as the toxins were anyway. This card's a little weak, but the poisons are good. There actually are some of the poisons that aren't that good. You know, you can get like Deadly Poison, or there's another one we'll talk about later, which basically draws cards. Overall, this card is a little slow, but it's enough value that's probably fine. If you have the poison synergy, obviously it's great as well, but probably not the best legendary in this set here. Moving on. Conditioning. Another one of these rank cards. The warrior one. Oh, this is... Oh, yeah. This is the hand buff one. So, at rank 1, it's a 1/1 hand buff, which honestly isn't very good. At rank 2, it's a 2/2 hand buff. At this point, it feels very strong. You're probably just going to always play this at rank 2 unless you draw it once you already have 10 mana. And then once you have 10 mana, it upgrades to +3/+3. You probably just aren't going to wait for that if you have it in your hand again, but you'll probably just use it like this, and then it's extremely strong. Because even if you you imagine on 5 mana, if you played like a 3 mana 3/4 that was buffed into a 5/6, you're already getting the tempo back immediately, and then you just have the rest of your hand is still hand buffed, so it seems very strong at that point. Next we have Tyze's Reveal, which I was watching the video of earlier. Altar of Fire. 1 mana spell, destroy the top 3 cards of each deck. So there are some cards that would make Warlock potentially want to do this, but this might be the worst card of the entire set actually. I'm not sure, there might be something worse. But I think in Arena you're just never going to take this over something that actually does something. But you never know. If you took this, I feel like you would take it just as much as a Spellburst proc as anything else. But yeah, you're probably just not going to take this ever. You're not going to see it much. It's not even going to be offered much because it's an epic. But yeah, not too much to say here. One of these cards that theoretically synergizes with it, Neeru Fireblade, which is a legendary Warlock minion, which is basically a 5 mana 5/5 because this is literally never going to trigger. And the problem is like even if you do have an empty deck, you're not going to live long enough to even get value out of this. So I feel like this is just a 5 mana 5/5. So, you know, you could potentially get a million 3/2s, and I guess you would win the game rather quickly. But usually just going to be a 5 mana 5/5. I guess if you're playing if you're playing a really slow Warlock though, then maybe you would actually get value out of this sometimes, but most games end by that point. So, you know. Not too much there. Next this is an interesting one. Sword of the Fallen. A paladin weapon, rare weapon. 2 mana 1/3. After hero attacks, cast a secret from your deck. So this actually seems extremely good. The only problem with this card is that it forces you to actually pick secrets, which are not always worth picking. But I mean, even if you just pull one secret with this card, it's already basically worth it. So, and if you pull 3, it's amazing, right? So you probably take this, but I don't think you would want to like go Mimi and pick all the secrets just because you have this, just to try to activate it. But if you just have like 1 or 2 secrets in your deck, it's probably worth it. But even then, it's not like the greatest card, but it's a lot of value. Next we have South Coast Chieftain. There are a lot of Shaman Murlocs in this set. 2 mana 3/2, Battlecry. If you control another Murloc, deal 2 damage. What can you say? If you have a bunch of Murlocs, really broken card. At worst, it's a 2 mana 3/2. So, always going to be extremely, extremely good. Or at least decent. Sometimes broken. Next we have Kindling Elemental. 1 mana 1/2 Elemental. The next Elemental you play costs 1 less. Does not have to be the same turn, so you can ramp a mana crystal with this to get an Elemental out cheaply. I believe the next card on this list actually is a card that would be really good with this, which is, well, this is in Shaman specifically, a 3 mana 2/5 Elemental. If you played an Elemental last turn, gain Rush and Wind Fury. You can play a 2 mana 2/5 Wind Fury Rush on turn 2, potentially. That would be pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, this probably, it's an Elemental to activate other Elementals, but a 1 mana 1/2 just isn't great, so you probably wouldn't pick this super highly, but, you know, in the right deck, I'm sure you would not be too upset taking this. This one, I guess, again, I already mentioned, but yeah. A 3 mana 2/5 is not the worst, but not a stat line you get super excited about. So you kind of would need Elementals, a decent number of Elementals. Shaman has a fair number of Elementals, so you might be able to pick this decently often. It's really good if you do it, right? It's like a bigger version of that Rush Wind Fury Murloc. But yeah. Unless you have something like this, it's gonna be a little hard to trigger it on curve though, so I will see. Be pretty good. Next up we have Lushwater Mercenary. Another 2 mana 3/2 Murloc. This one is neutral. If you control a Murloc, gain +1/+1. This will be better in certain classes that have a lot of Murlocs, like, you know, Shaman. But there's enough, like, you know, like Crab Rider, there's enough in Fishy Flyer, there's enough neutral Murlocs that you'll probably get a 2 mana 4/3 out of this a fair amount of the time. At worst, it's a 2 mana 3/2 again. So, very strong card. Compared to like the other one, which was deal 2 damage, I think this, you'd rather have that effect than this, because just getting an extra +1/+1 on a 3/2 isn't worth that much, but obviously, you know, it's better than nothing. Next we have another one of these, they have a lot of these Caravan cards. Tiny Finn's Caravan, a 2 mana 1/3. At the start of your turn, draw a Murloc. So if you're going first and you play this on 2, I guess, like, if you're getting draws out of this, it's obviously really good, right? Most decks are going to have, especially Shaman decks, are probably going to have a few Murlocs in them, so you should be able to get value out of this if it sticks, but if you don't play it immediately, it'll probably never stick, so then it's just really underwhelming. Because it would be a 2 mana 1/3 that doesn't do anything, other than have kind of soft taunt. But obviously, if you start drawing a million Murlocs, your opponent's going to be very upset. Next up, we have Tusk Piercer, a Demon Hunter weapon. 1 mana 1/2, Death Rattle, draw a Death Rattle minion. So that's a little awkward because it's nice to have, like, I guess it's nice to have an extra, compared to hero power, you just get like an extra 1. Doesn't really contribute that much. The fact that the draw is delayed is pretty awkward. You could like overwrite this with another weapon potentially to get the draw immediately. But the fact that you have to wait is actually really awkward. So I'm not sure how I would really value this super highly. Depends obviously on what death rattles you have, but probably not a card you can be taken too often. Because it just doesn't do that much other than cycle. Next we have an interesting one. Hecklefang Hyena. 2 mana 2/4 Battlecry, deal 3 damage to your hero. This card is going to be very dependent on which class you're playing. Like, I think if you're playing something like Rogue, for instance, even like Warrior doesn't like to take a lot of self-damage, so this probably just isn't worth it in like Rogue, for instance. But in Priest, you would probably just eat this up. Because sometimes, you know, it could be really awkward not being able to trigger your Brittlebone if you're at full health, and this card just completely solves that problem, right? So you'd probably like this in Priest. You may or may not like this in Warlock, depending on, you know, how much synergy. I don't think there's a lot of synergy in the game right now for self-damage, so you probably wouldn't like this in Warlock either. But, yeah, I think you would actually really like this card in Priest, specifically. And it has a beast tag, like in Hunter, you probably don't care about the self-damage, so you'd probably take this in like Hunter pretty highly too. But yeah, it'll depend. Well, obviously depend on your deck. Next we have Fury. Demon Hunter, I think this is one of the weaker upgrading cards in this set. This one is at rank 1, I guess it's okay, it's like half of a Twin Slice. But it doesn't scale very much, it only gains 1 attack with each level. So if you're getting like +3, I guess that's okay. And +4 is great, but I don't think you're gonna take this super highly. Like it's not bad. I think you would just rather have like a Holy Smite, right? Compared to Holy Smite, this does go face, which could be relevant, but honestly, like I think you'd rather just have Holy Smite than this. But Holy Smite's a very good card. So this isn't bad, it's just I think you want generally higher impact stuff than this. Moving on, we have a neutral minion, Toad of the Wilds. 2 mana 2/2 Battlecry. If you're holding a nature spell, gain +2 health. I think Rogue has some nature stuff, but most of the nature classes are mostly Shaman and Druid, I think. So obviously if you have... In Shaman and Druid, this card's probably extremely good because it's probably going to be pretty consistent, but this is a neutral card, so a lot of classes I think don't have nature stuff at all, and then this card's terrible. Frostwolf Grunt, right? So, you know, will depend on if you're playing the right class for it or not. Moving on, we have Darkespear Berserker. 4 mana 5/7. Death Rattle, deal 5 to your hero. So compared to the other one, the 2 mana 2/4, you're only gaining 1 stat on that card, so that's honestly not a lot of upside. This card, it's a lot of self-damage, but I mean, compare this to Pit Lord, you might even be able to silence it off potentially and not even take the damage, but this is just so many stats that this is probably just going to be really good in pretty much any class. You might not want to take like 6 of these, but, you know, the upside definitely, the extra stats definitely seems worth it here. So, and it has Death Rattle synergy. This might be one of the main Death Rattles you're trying to pull out with Demon Hunter, for example, with all their weird Death Rattle cards. So, yeah, I think pretty much in any class, the first one of these is probably going to be insta-pick, and then you might start to think a little more after that, but you'll probably take like 2, be pretty happy about it in any class. Certain classes like Warlock and Rogue, you might start to think about the second one more, but yeah, it's just a really overstated card. Next we have Prize Fury. They are really doing Druid dirty. 4 mana, give your minions +1/+3. So the problem, like, this card can be good, obviously, in the right situation. If you're really far ahead, getting 1/3 buffs on decent sized minions is good. The problem is like a 1/3 buff on, like, usually if you're getting a bunch of hits off of this, then you're hitting like small stuff, right? And buffing a 1/1 into like a 2/4 honestly just isn't that impactful. So this card honestly just seems it's not unplayable, but it's not great. You would want to have multiple mid-sized minions that you're hitting with this, which could happen, but overall, I mean, just like a 2 mana +1/+1 AoE buff is just significantly better than this, I think. So, you know, not the greatest card, but Druid has a lot of bad cards, so you might pick it sometimes. Next we have another one, Thorngrowth Sentries. Talking about cards that aren't that good when you give them +1/+3 buffs. Summon 2/2 turtles with taunt. So I mean, honestly, this is basically just an Annoyatron. It is maybe slightly better with buffs sometimes, but so it's not bad, but it's not particularly exciting or good here. But it's pickable. It's fine. It's a little. The problem is a lot of 2-drops are 2/3 stat line right now, and then this just doesn't even trade into 2/3s at all. It actually just gets eaten, so it's a little weak, but it's not terrible. If you have spread synergy, you might want it. Next we have pretty good card here, Thick Hide Kodo. A lot of these druid cards, I'm noticing like every other class doesn't get understated stuff, but druid does. So this is a good card, like it's a really good survival card. 4 mana, 3/5 taunt. That used to be a card in itself. It has Dingo. Death Rattle, gain 5 armor. That's honestly really great, but it's understated, and it does feel like, I do feel like cards that are understated like this are kind of just going to get you rolled over. But it's a good card, obviously. You know, you want to be playing it in a slow deck that's trying to live for something. But a lot of druids aren't. I don't think that's really what you want to be doing with druid right now generally, so if you're playing some super greedy late game druid, obviously you'd like this, but otherwise not best. Next we have basically a neutral version of that card. Gold Road Grunt. 5 mana, 3/7 taunt. Frenzy, gain armor equal to damage taken. I think this is the first frenzy we've seen, right? So I'll explain what the frenzy mechanic is now, since I haven't explained it yet in this video. It's a one-time effect after this survives damage. It can only go off once. But for example, if this thing were to take 1 damage, you would gain 1 armor, and then it wouldn't have frenzy anymore. Obviously with this card, the idea would be you take, but the minion also has to survive, so like if this thing just takes 7 damage, you don't get anything. But if it takes like 5 damage, you get 5 armor. So I mean, compared to like this card's probably better because it's just always 5 armor. You're not going to get that much more upside out of this. But I mean, 5 mana, 3/7 taunt is fine. Frenzy, I mean, gives you armor, so it's just really good at keeping you alive. It's a neutral card, so you'll see this a fair amount. I think you'll generally value this below, you know, like class cards that have more power, but it's a good card. If you're playing a slower deck, you would like this. Next we have Burning Blade Acolyte. 5 mana, 1/1. Terrible, just kidding. Because it summons a 5/8 demon spawn with taunt, which is basically, would be like an extremely strong 6-drop. So the fact they've printed stuff like this is a lot stronger than a lot of the previous cards. Like they had a 4 mana 1/1 that summoned a 5/5, which honestly just wasn't really worth it, but that was because it was a 5/5 that didn't have taunt or anything. Since this comes with taunt, it kind of forgives it for only being a 1/1. There's going to be some death rattle synergies you can do potentially, and yeah, it's just a lot of stats. You're getting enough stats here that it's going to be worth it, I think. So this is going to be an extremely strong card. Next we have South 3 Scoundrel. I do not know why this card exists. I really enjoyed the effect on this card. I just don't know why it's a 4 mana 5/5. They're just printing neutral 4 mana 5/5s now. It is really interesting text. Battlecry, discover a card in your opponent's deck, they draw it as well. So on curve, this does have the downside that your opponent gets to play it first. But you're choosing what they get, so obviously like you don't have the problem, like you're never gonna like give your opponent the flame strike they need to beat you. Because if you see flame strike, you just won't pick it then, right? You'll pick something else. Little Friend was a Battlecry. But South Sea, but yeah, this is just like a, if you play this later in the game, you get the upside that you get to play yours first, so that can be relevant. So I mean, I think this is a 4 mana 5/5 with what I think is positive text. So why they're printing a 4 mana 5/5 with upside, I have no idea. You're gonna probably take this card literally every time you ever see it, because it's just a 4 mana 5/5 with upside. In certain situations, and because you're discovering again, it shouldn't ever screw you, right? You don't need to take the best card. You would be often making a mistake if you just automatically chose the best card you were offered. It would depend on the situation, right? But yeah, I forget, there was a card that had a similar effect to this where it also, oh yeah, there was a legendary. There was a 4 mana 4/5 legendary that had kind of similar text. which was you discovered a card and gave, or you picked 2 cards and you gave 1 to your opponent, right? Yeah, this card's gonna be extremely, extremely good. You're just always gonna pick it. Just make sure you be smart with it, basically. Yeah, Grifta was the card. I liked Grifta because it was a really skill testing card. It's a really good card design, I think, other than the fact that it's just a 4-mana 5/5 for some reason. I don't know. Next we have Injured Marauder. So it's a 4-mana 5/4, but it's a 5/4 by lieu of being a 5/10 that deals 6 damage to itself on its battle cry. Do not play this card with Bran. That is the first thing we will say. Or do it if you want to make a highlight video. It'd be hilarious. But yeah, I mean, it's basically just a better version of Injured Blade Master, because it has more upside. If you can somehow pull this out without its battle cry, it's absolutely busted. And if you can just play this, like if you're a priest and you can play Renew on this on turn 5, you get a 5/7. 5-mana 5/7. Really good. A lot of upside. There are definitely ways to cheat this out. I don't know of a super easy way, but it'll be possible to do. And also now evolve effects are going to get this. This is even worse than pulling a 7/7, man. Ooh, that's gonna be nasty. Next we have Taurajo Brave. I think I already hate this card. 6-mana 4/8, Frenzy, destroy a random enemy minion. So oftentimes you'll just play this on 6 probably. A 4/8 is not amazing for 6 mana, but I mean, killing a random enemy minion is pretty amazing. You're pretty much always going to be able to get this off. I mean, unless your opponent has an elephant, I guess. Elephant is how you get completely wrecked. But if you're really worried, if your opponent's already corrupted an elephant, then you just, I guess you would just not play this if you had the ability to. And if you're a mage or if you have an Hog Merchant, you can trigger this on your own turn and probably get really good value out of it. If you just play it without triggering it on the same turn, you probably would not. Your opponent would probably be able to deny its value relatively well. But I mean, it's still, if it kills anything, it's already basically good enough. So a lot of times you will just play it, but you know, extremely strong neutral card. Next we have a Vile Call. This card just seems really good. It's a Demon Hunter neutral, or Demon Hunter common spell. Summon 2 2/2s with lifesteal for 3 mana. So summoning 2 2/2s already for 3 mana is already a pretty good card. And getting lifesteal is really nice. Especially if you're playing like that Death Rattle Demon Hunter who has a bunch of those 5/7s that hurt you, you know, getting this healing could be nice. Otherwise, yeah, like, this just feels like, this card just made me think, man, they're doing Druid dirty. Druid's just getting like worse versions of this in this set. But yeah, it's just seems like a really good card. Next we have Razorboar. Summon that Death Rattle synergy. 2-mana 2/2, Death Rattle. Summon a Death Rattle minion that costs 3 or less from your hand. So I mean, it's a little hard. It's probably a little hard to get like something that makes this super good. It's getting a Death Rattle 3 or less is pretty narrow. So a lot of times you're probably just not gonna have the right synergy for this, and I feel like you're just not gonna want to pick this. But if you have the right cards, you would need to have so many Death Rattles that cost 3 or less, because you would want them to cost exactly 3 if you could help it to. I don't know. I think this card is just a little too narrow to really value it super highly, but you know, sometimes it'll be good. If you have just a million of these, if you have a 30 Razorboar deck, it'd be pretty pog. Next we have Gruntled Patron. 4-mana 3/3 Frenzy, summon another Gruntled Patron. So this is basically a worse version of Grim Patron, right? Because as we mentioned before, Frenzy can only go off once, so this will only respawn itself once. So you can't really like you can't really even live the dream too much, because you can't fill your board really as easily. But I mean, even Grim Patron wasn't really a good arena card, so I mean, this card, I guess Grim Patron was 5 mana, right? So this one is cheaper, but in general, probably not. It's probably just not quite good enough. But you never know. This card is like the ultimate meme card. Celestial Alignment, Druid. I'm so sorry. 7 mana. Set each player to 0 mana crystals. Set the cost and cards in all hands and decks to 1. So I'm sure there probably will be decks built around this and constructed, and they'll probably be hilarious and fun to play. But this card in Arena is probably just completely unplayable. The problem is, like, your opponent, like, for this to be even remotely good, your opponent has to have nothing big in their hand, basically. Your opponent gets to do it first, right? So if you play this, you don't know what's in their hand. If they just have a 10-drop in hand, you basically lose instantly. Even if they just have, like, a Proto Drake. You need your minion to basically be twice as big as the biggest minion in their hand. And you're just doing, like, a really weird draft at that point. Like, it's just not... There's no way you can really... This card's just not going to be good. It'll be hilarious. It'll be fun and constructed, though, I'm sure. Next we have Sunwell Initiate. Frenzy, gain Divine Shield. 3 mana, 3/4 neutral. Common. Just extremely strong card. So it probably wouldn't be worth... You probably wouldn't... Again, with Frenzy, you could trigger it with an Hog Merchant. You probably wouldn't do that. It probably wouldn't really... You could do it sometimes, but it probably wouldn't be worth it most of the time. At least not on the turn you play it. Maybe... If your opponent plays like a 4/3, then you can ping this and basically turn any Hog Merchant into a Guardian Hog Merchant, right? And just free kill. This card is just... And yeah, at worst case, it's a 3 mana 3/4. So this card is just extremely, extremely, extremely good. Oh yeah, with Rocket Dog, it's amazing. Yeah, it's just an extremely busted card. This card, I actually think, though, might be the... This card probably is the claw machine of the set. This is Venomous Scorpid, a 3 mana 1/3 poison, which is very similar to that Hunter legendary that was really busted, but instead of Discover a Dragon, this one is Discover a Spell. This is a neutral. And anything that has Discover on it is going to be pretty busted now because a lot of the bad spells left. So, like, this is always going to give you something really good. So I think this is actually... I think this is like Claw Machine good. Probably. It might not be quite as good as Claw Machine, I'm not sure. But we'll see. Yeah, it might be like... It's going to be really, really good. It at least doesn't push face, but yeah, it's so good. Because it's a Cobra, basically, that also does... It's... Ugh. Especially in Priest, that card is going to be frustrating. Next we have Ratchet Privateer. Don't give it... If they also gave it Stealth, don't give him any ideas. Ratchet Privateer. Battlecry, give your weapon +1 attack. It's a pirate. So I mean, if you're playing the right class, right? If you're playing Warrior, Rogue, or Shaman even, maybe. You can get this on Doomhammer, potentially. Yikes. Certainly. Usually it's not going to do that much, but yeah, I mean... It's a 3 mana 4/3 with upside. You can pick it in any class just because it's a 3 mana 4/3, but you know, you would want to pick it in those classes that actually have weapons. So pretty straightforward there. In general, like giving just attack, it's not giving like +1/+1, it's just attack. It's not the highest impact, but it's, you know, obviously good sometimes. Next we have, like, it'd be really good just to play it compared to like Auto Barber. Auto Barber was really awkward because it had the same effect, but it was a 2 mana 3/2. The fact that it actually curves after Rogue Dagger just makes it really good. Next we have Wound Prey. 1 mana, deal 1 damage, summon a 1/1 hyena with Rush. So it's not the highest impact card, but I mean, just having 2 pings like this is basically one charge of a it's one charge of a Desert Spear for 1 mana. It's similar to like, it's not quite as good as like, you know, playing like Alley Cat on turn 1. So it doesn't have the proactive usage. But I mean, just having this kind of reactive stuff is never going to be bad. So just a little low impact, but it's going to be a good card. You'll pick one of these and be pretty happy. Yeah, that's actually true. That it's a really good way to trigger your own frenzies potentially, and maybe worth it just for that. Next we have, and Spellburst too. Next we have Hog Rancher. 3 mana 3/2, Battlecry, summon a 2/1 with Rush. So 3 mana 3/2 deal 2 damage. Very strong. It's not crazy strong, but it's good. I mean, I guess like this is probably, generally speaking, you can even tempo it if you want to. But yeah, it makes Spring Rocket look pretty bad in comparison. Spring Rocket's still a playable card, but yeah. It can't go face. It's not reach in the same way, but yeah, you can just tempo this and it wouldn't even feel that bad. So it's a good card. Not broken, but just a totally fair and strong neutral minion with some initiative. Next we have Death's Head Cultist. 3 mana 2/4 taunt. Death Rattle, restore 4 health to your hero. So this is a little, especially compared to a lot of the cards. Anything that's understated like this, I feel like is going to be a little weak. But it's, I mean, if you're playing a defensive deck that just wants to live, it's good to have a taunt that heals you. One problem with it though is that a lot of times like you're not going to be damaged yet on turn 3, so you probably don't even really want to play this immediately. So it's just a little awkward, I think. But it's not an inherently bad card. Just a little. There are just better cards than this, I think, but it's still fine. It is a death rattle that you can pull with like Demon Hunter, the Demon Hunter card and stuff, so it's, yeah, it's like too fair for the year 2021 in Hearthstone, I think, but it's playable. Next we have another one of these Caravan cards, Prospector's Caravan. At the start of your turn, give all minions in your hand +1/+1. So I feel like all these Caravan cards are kind of gonna have the same problem, which is just that you're not guaranteed to get anything out of it. If you do just play this turn 2 against someone that has an empty board still and doesn't have removal, it's kind of unfair. So like sometimes you will get, this will win games by itself compared to a lot of the other ones. Like a lot of them don't have quite as much upside as this one even, I think. You can also try to put this behind taunt and protect it that way. But yeah, I feel like it's not going to be quite consistent enough to really be good, but it's one of these things, yeah, if you coin it on one, then your opponent's just going to cry. You don't need to hit that many minions with this though, because it's like if you just get value out of this, it's kind of unfair. But it's going to be inconsistent is the thing. Next we talk about the one I was already talking about before this, which is Pat Kodo. This card is actually going to be one of the best cards in the set in Standard, I think. Because this thing discovers a beast secret or weapon. You're always going to choose weapon, and you're always going to choose Riddling's Rifle. Because there aren't that many weapons, so you're literally guaranteed to get Riddling's Rifle. And Riddling's Rifle is one of the most broken cards they've ever printed in this game. So 3 mana 3/3, discover an on-curve most broken card ever printed. It's just really, really unfair. This card might not be quite as good in Arena, actually, depending on what the rotation is, because you might not be guaranteed to get Riddling's Rifle. So it might not be as good, actually, but it's still an extremely, extremely strong card. You're probably almost always going to choose weapon, unless there's like some very specific reason you want like Freezing Trap or something, but you're pretty much just always going to choose weapon, I think. And then it's just really good. Because you can also get like, Hatchet is in the game, so you could always like on turn 5 you could get this with Hatchet and activate the Hatchet because it's a beast, so it's good. But it's not working like that? Oh, are you saying that it gives you one of each? It offers you one of each? Oh. So I guess then it's, well, you still get a roll for Riddling's Rifle. Okay, so it's like 50-50 Riddling's Rifle then. In Standard it's 50-50. You're still gonna really like it just because it's gonna be a 50-50 for Riddling's Rifle. But yeah. Okay, that makes it a little less busted, but still just makes it RNG busted instead of just always unfair. But yeah, still really, really strong card regardless. Next we have Piercing Shot. This card is insane as well. Deal 4 damage, 4 mana, deal 6 damage to a minion. Excess damage hits the enemy hero. So it's basically a targeted, it's explosive runes, but you actually target it on something. So if you want, you can even just play a 1/1 and then target your own 1/1 if you just need to deal 5 damage to the enemy face. So your opponent can't deny that. So you might prefer, honestly, like Hunter might prefer Fireball to this, because like, again, like you might just prefer to just go 6 damage face. But I mean, this is extremely strong. Yeah, it's because of that, like it's not like an objectively better Fireball, but oftentimes it's a better Fireball because you can just remove something like you can remove a 4/5 or whatever you want, and then just you would get 1 extra damage to the opponent's face, which is always good. But yeah, extremely strong card. You're probably gonna pick. I feel like it fits the Hunter identity well enough that you're probably just gonna pick this card every time it's offered. You know, because it's just kind of really good. It does what you want to do in Hunter, so you'd be happy to have 17 of these in your deck. So, yeah. Because if anything, I feel like they actually become better the more you have, because they basically all work together, right? Yeah, it's a little insane. I think you would just literally insta-pick that card over basically anything. Alright, so anyway, can't compare it to Cobra Shot, jeez. Next we have Warsong Wrangler. 4 mana, 3/4, Battlecry. Discover a beast in your deck. Give all copies of it +2/+1 wherever they are. So it's a little slow, but I mean, a 4 mana, 3/4 Discover is good. You have to have a beast in your deck, but I mean, you know, you're not going to get too much. You're probably not going to get the craziest synergy out of this too often. There are ways to, like, you know, do things with this, but the ideal situation would be you have a beast on the board, and then you discover that same beast from your deck, and then you actually get initiative at the same time. So there is the chance that this can go off, but if it's just a 4 mana 3/4 Discover, that just gives you a buffed beast. Beasts usually aren't that good actually, so it's fine, but it's not going to be super strong. But it's playable without really any synergy at all, as long as you have a beast in your deck. If you don't have beast in your deck, it's terrible, but obviously, but yeah, it's fine, even just in the average situation. Next we have Runed Orb. Deal 2 damage, discover a spell. Mage spell. With the arcane tag. Discover a spell in Mage is always going to be good. It's going to be, anything with Discover is just going to be busted right now, I think. Just because, like, again, like, so many, Discover a spell particularly, like, all the bad spells just rotated out of the game, basically. I guess depending on what wild rotation is, you might still be able to low roll this. But, yeah. Anything with Discover a spell is just going to be really good. So deal 2 damage, discover a spell. Very, very, very good. Probably a card you're pretty much going to auto-pick over pretty much anything that isn't even more busted. Next we have Wildfire, which is 2 mana spell. It's a fire spell. Increase the damage of hero power by 1. So I think you would be totally happy just playing this on turn 2. So I think this card is good. There are some synergies, like if you happen to have the 10 mana legendary, if you happen to have the 4 mana 3/5 that makes your hero power hit all enemies, you can basically just trigger that immediately. Yeah, but they still haven't said what the rotation is, right? We don't know. We still don't know. But yeah. But anyway, yeah, like I think you'd be totally happy just playing this card on turn 2 if you had it on turn 2, and I think there's enough synergy in just having a 2 mana. You can play multiple of these too, potentially, and just have like, once you have like a 4 mana hero power, you tend to win the game pretty quickly. They did announce it. And can you link that? If you can link that, can someone link that? That'd be great. But yeah, like I think this card's just good. And you would like to have multiple if you could. Next we have Crossroads Gossiper. 3 mana 4/3. After a friendly secret is revealed, gain +2/+2. So Mage has a secret that's going to be really frustrating with this. Oh god. Oh no. I actually didn't see that. I saw the Mage secret. We'll skip ahead. Mage has a secret which, when your minion is attacked, summon a water elemental. So that would summon a water elemental and then turn this into a 6/5. Oh, that's disgusting. If you're on coin, oh man. You can do that undeniable too. You coin the secret and then you play this. Oh, that is nasty. Oh. Most of the time it's just a 3-mana 4/3, but... Oh, thanks. Here's the, oh yeah, they're nerfing Nitro Boost Poison. The Great Unnerfing. I assume the rotation's at the bottom. Okay. Let me move this so you guys can see it. Hope I'm not leaking anything, KW. No. But, Darkmoon Races mini set. But Darkmoon Fair, Skullman's Ashes, Rise of Shadows, and Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. So everything since Ashes of Outlands, Rise of Shadows, and Mean Streets. Mean Streets is kind of, a meme expansion. There's a lot of bad cards in that set, actually. But, Rise of Shadows is pretty good. So, yeah, Discovers are still going to be really, really good. We're going to have 3-mana Conjurer's Calling. Oh, jeez. Oh, no. Oh, not like this. Alright, let's back to this. Next is Barrens Trapper. 3-mana 2/4. Your Death Rattle cards cost 1 less. This probably isn't, like, it's not terrible, but it's... A 3-mana 2/4 is really underwhelming. There's not that many Death Rattles. And the upside, honestly, just isn't that big anyways. This card's probably... You can play this into the 5-mana 1/1 on curve, I guess. That would be great. But overall, this card probably isn't the best. If you have a bunch of Death Rattles, maybe you'll take it. It would be useful to be able to, like, maybe... if you can just, like, sneak this out on turn 6 or something and cheat out a Proto Drake, that would be nice, you know, using with something like that. But overall, probably not the greatest. Next we have Devouring Plague. 3-mana Lifesteal. Deal 4 damage, randomly split among all enemy minions. Okay. I mean, it heals, so it's not that bad. This card seems really bad, though. It just seems like... Oh, wait, it's all enemy minions, so it does guarantee... You can snipe a stealth even with this. I guess that's fine, then. Because, like, compared to, like, Arcane Missiles, you know, the fact that missiles can go face can screw you sometimes. Okay, now this is... I think this is pretty good, then. It's like... Yeah, it's like a Firebrand. It's just a Firebrand spell burst. But, I mean, the fact that it heals you is nice, you know. This thing's really kind of like a... It's only enemies, so, like, compared to, like, the Warrior one, which is 5 damage to all minions, it could be... The fact that it's one-sided could be nice. So... Yeah, it's not... It's probably not the greatest, but it's good. I think you'll take this in a surprising number of decks. It's just, I think it's better than it looks initially, but it's not super, super strong. Next we have Talented Arcanist. 2-mana 1/3 Battlecry. Your next spell this turn has spell damage +2. So Mage has a 2-mana 2/1 with the same Battlecry. So, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be one of those things where it depends on which class you're playing. You'd probably be pretty happy to have this in, like, Shaman or Mage or even Priest, maybe with, like, Holy Nova, for example. That seems pretty good. It sets off all opponents' frenzies. You're not wrong. This card did. That's funny. Yeah, but I mean... Yeah, you're obviously not going to take this if you don't have, like, the right spell combos for it, but if you do, you're going to love this. Dude, I mean, this makes the Mage Dormant look so bad in comparison, actually. Anyway, next, Soothsayer's Caravan. 2-mana 1/3, another Caravan. At the start of your turn, copy a spell from your opponent's deck to your hand. Oh, that's just rude. I thought they were getting rid of Steel Priest. I guess not. They're just giving it different steel. Oh man. I mean, this is gonna be inconsistent, but I mean, God, that might be the best Caravan, actually. That might be the best effect, because you're stealing spells that people chose to draft, right? There's a chance that they might not have any spells in their deck at a certain point, so you might actually not get anything though. But I mean, it seems really strong. Does Frenzy happen right when the 1 damage is dealt? Just wait until the card's effects are done? What do you mean? Because why would it? I'm sure there are certain situations where it would matter. It probably won't matter most of the time, but I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if we know the answer to that even. Next we have Northwatch Commander. 3 mana, 3/4 battle cry. If you control a secret, draw a minion. There's gonna be secrets that are not gonna trigger ever in Paladin, potentially. So I mean, at worst it's a 3 mana, 3/4. If you get a draw, that's really good. So I mean, not too much. Again, like, I don't know that you're gonna want to take a million secrets just for this kind of synergy, but it's nice to be able to draw cards with secrets because it just forgives you for drafting secrets. So it does make secrets a bit better if you have this, but you know, it's still a combo, but yeah. It's a very good card if it's a 3 mana, 3/4 with upside. There are a lot of these in this set. Next we have another Caravan. Soldier's Caravan. At the start of your turn, summon 2 1/1 Silverhand Recruits. Okay, I take it back. This is the best Caravan. I mean, that's just really aggressive. What the hell? Like, compare that. Primal Fin Totem is a card. Primal Fin Totem is a 2 mana 0/3 that summons a single 1/1. I guess it's that one's at the end of your turn, right? We actually forget. How am I forgetting this right now? Yeah, that one's end of turn, so I guess it's, yeah, that's end of turn. So you always get something out of it. But I mean, you get a 1/3 instead of a 0/3, so it's as good the turn you play it anyway. So this just seems really, I mean, I think it is better than Primal Fin Totem because, you know, it starts out as a 1/3. A 0/3 and a 1 is about as, a 1/1 is about as good as a 1/3 anyway. So yeah, it just seems, this one's actually kind of busted. If you can coin this out, you basically win the game instantly. That's really unfair, actually. That's disgusting. That's actually disgusting. I assume you don't get initiative out of the 1/1s. I'm pretty sure off of the wording. But yeah, that gets out of control really fast. At least the fact that it's start of turn makes it so it's harder for you to like combo it with something like the stuff that would buff it. But yeah, it's a little unfair when if you get it super early. Next we have Knight of Anointment. 1 mana 1/1 battle cry, draw a holy spell. So you do have to have holy spells, but like we're talking about earlier, like Librams they said are holy. Like holy spells are generally pretty good. At least the ones you're gonna pick. So yeah, a 1 mana 1/1 that draws. It's great. Not the strongest card, but you're pretty much always gonna get something off of it out of your deck, I think. Not always though, because sometimes you don't have that many spells, so there will be decks. Don't automatically snap pick this because you might not have enough holy spells to really pull it off always, but I mean, assuming you do, good card. Next we have Galloping Savior. 1 mana secret in Paladin. After your opponent plays 3 cards in turn, summon a 3/4 steed with taunt. I think the problem with this card is it's just not gonna go off sometimes. Like it's gonna have, it's very similar to like the Hunter secret, which if you have 2 cards, then if you have 2 minions, you summon an Animal Companion. It's like similar upside. I think honestly, like the upside just isn't good enough to justify how hard this is to actually pull off. Because like you need your opponent to like, basically, it's not that common that people do this. Yeah, like Rat Trap was way better than this. It was a 6/6 with the same, it was a 2 mana secret, but yeah, it was way more upside at least. But we all remember how rarely Rat Trap would actually go off. So I mean, the fact that you can at least pull this out of your deck and stuff with Paladin makes it maybe semi-pickable, but a lot of times, I think too often it's just not going to go off. you need them to like play two cards with the coin, basically. That would be the way they would ever trigger it. But I think it's just not going to be consistent enough that you would actually want this. And it's just not enough upside. Next we have Refreshing Spring Water. 4 mana, draw 2 cards. Refresh 2 mana crystals for each spell drawn. So in no minion mage, this is literally Pot of Greed. What the hell? Why are they printing Pot of Greed? In Constructed, you're probably going to play this in just any mage deck, because you're just going to usually get at least 1 and maybe 2 refreshes. In Arena, though, I think this is worse than Arcane Intellect. But it's still pickable. If you have a lot of spells, obviously it gets a lot better, but I think in Arena it's worse than Arcane Intellect. So you probably won't take this very much. In most decks. Obviously it'll depend on your deck. Next we have Oasis Thrasher. 2 mana, 2/3 Frenzy, deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. Hunter will love this card. Hunter will really like this card. But yeah, what do you want to say? It's a 2 mana, 2/3 with upside. Upside that not all decks cares about, but you know, dealing 3 to the enemy hero is generally a good thing. So yeah, it's good. Extremely, extremely good, especially in like aggressive decks, obviously. Next we have Lushwater Scout. 2 mana, 1/3. After you summon a minion, give it +1 attack and oh my god. And rush. I didn't see this. I looked over most of the cards, but I didn't see this one. Ooh. So obviously you need to have Murlocs to make it good, but I mean if you have Murlocs, this is really good. You probably, unless you're playing like, you would probably actually pick this card really highly in Shaman, because I think you're going to have enough Murlocs in Shaman to actually make this just good. But in most classes, probably not good enough. Probably not good enough to pick outside of Shaman, I would guess. I think you just would pick something better, but yeah. If you have a bunch of Murlocs, go for it. Next we have Rhyme Tongue. 3 mana, 3/4, so it's really good automatically. After you cast a Frost spell, summon a 1/1 elemental that freezes. So this is basically, it's one of these little things. Extremely annoying card. There was Hailbringer was a 5 mana, 3/4 that summoned 2 of these. And you probably won't, like, you're probably not going to pop off too hard with this card, because I don't think there are that many Frost spells. But I mean, if you have this and Brain Freeze, really good. So, yeah, 3/4 with upside. There are a lot of 3 mana, 3/4s with upside in this set. Next we have the card I was talking about earlier, Oasis Ally. 3 mana secret and mage. When a friendly minion is attacked, summon a 3/6 water elemental. So these cards can be a little inconsistent sometimes, because this probably is going to be the most picked secret, I'm thinking. I'm not sure if there's any that I'm missing that you're really going to take. But yeah, so sometimes your opponent will expect this. So sometimes they might just not trigger it. And that could be annoying. Sometimes it's bad in Mage to encourage your opponent to hit you in the face, because you kind of don't want them to do that a lot of the time. So, but obviously at any point you can just play a taunt minion and force them to. So, you know, this should be really good. It'll probably be the most common secret, I'm thinking, especially if it has an offering bonus. And yeah, you'll pick it a fair amount, I think, especially if you have any kind of Secret's energy. But yeah. It will be really frustrating if this card is in the game at the same time as Flame Ward. That will suck. And it is going to be in Standard at the same time. It is, right? Flame Ward is... When was Flame Ward printed? Do I have this pulled up here? This was Uldum. Oh wait, that's leaving Standard, right? Okay, that's leaving Standard. Okay, that's good. That's good for Standard players. But I think Uldum's going to be in... Oh no, it's not going to be in the Arena rotation. That's fortunate. Okay. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that. Because that would be frustrating as hell. Next we have Arcane Luminary. 3-mana 4/3, cards that didn't start in your deck cost 2 less, but not less than 1. I think when I initially saw this, I saw it as a battle cry, but that's not a battle cry. So this thing has to be on board, and it has to stick on board to continue to have this effect. So that makes it probably weaker than if it was a battle cry that just made that happen. But I mean, yeah. It's a 3-mana 4/3, which honestly doesn't feel very good anymore, but I mean, that's a lot of upside. So you can play this, or you can just, like, if you happen to have a 3-mana, you happen to generate a secret or something, you can just play this and the secret on turn 4. It's enough upside that I think this is just really good. But yeah, probably not the best card Mage has, but it's good. Next we have, I think this might be my favorite card of the set, Far Watchpost. 2-mana 2/4 Watchpost, cannot attack, but after your opponent draws a card, it costs 1 more up to 10. So this card is just really troll, actually. At least it would have been really funny if you could actually just make a 10-mana card unplayable here. That would have been hilarious. But yeah, fortunately this can't make it cost less than 1, otherwise that would be terrifying. So yeah, this card is, I mean, I think this card is, like, compared to the other Watchpost, the 3-mana Watchpost, I think is just unfair, and they might need a ban from Arena, but this one, it's fair. Like, it's not, this thing isn't going to win you the game by itself, so it's fine. It might actually sometimes, because it might screw your opponent out of their curve. Do you ever Luminance this card? Which one, this one or the other one? You might Luminance this sometimes, actually. That'd be hilarious. You probably would. That's actually just really good, I think. But yeah, this is going to be really disruptive, potentially, so I think this is good. It's probably not the best card, but it's good. You know, your opponent's going to want to kill this, so you can really disrupt someone. Seems good. Next we have Rancor. 4-mana spell, even warrior. It's an epic, so you won't see it too much, but it's deal 2 to all minions. Gain 2 armor for each destroyed. So I mean, if you're playing a defensive warrior and your opponent plays into this and they're an aggro deck, this card will just win you the game instantly. Yeah, it's a little, I mean, in a control matchup this card's kind of terrible actually, but in an aggro matchup it's like the best card ever printed. So you probably won't always take this, but I mean, it's literally, this card makes you basically immune to aggro, so it's good. You just wouldn't want to, like, yeah. Just keep in mind that it wouldn't be good in a value matchup, so you wouldn't always want it, but yeah. If you want to not die to aggro, you pick it. Next we have Outrider's Axe. This seems really unfair, actually. It's not like the most busted card, I guess. It's really good. So it's a 4-mana 3/3 weapon. After hero attacks and kills a minion, draw a card. Usually if you're hitting a minion, you're killing it. Just in general, like, you're not always, so maybe you're not always getting this, but this seems really, really good. Compared to War Axe, it's just 1 more mana and you get an extra charge and you might draw 3 cards. It seems really, really good. It does too much, basically. This card's insane. There's not even that much to say. Like, a 4-mana 3/3 weapon is honestly, like, pickable. Even if it doesn't draw. You can control it too. The only downside is that you can't just, like, you could just send this face, but then you don't get the draw. But 4 damage, 9 face is great. You know? So, yeah. And if you can buff the attack of this, you just make it even easier to draw with it. Really good. It does compete with Sword Eater. That makes it a little awkward, but oh well. Next we have Bulk Up. Give a random taunt minion in your hand, +1/+1 and copy it. A spell for warrior for 2 mana. So warrior's getting multiple hand buffs cards. They also have the rank card, which is hand buffing. So they're trying to make hand buff taunt warrior thing again, eh? So it's random. The fact that it's random could be awkward sometimes. So you might not hit the one you want. If you can hit, like, if you can hit like a Rusty Raider though. A lot of times you only have one taunt minion, so it will hit whatever you want. And if you just hit like a Rusty Raider or something with this, it's really good. Turns Rusty Raider into a really nice stat line, which is very important. And you get 2 of them, which is like twice as nice. And yeah, there's a potential you can hit like, if you hit Smug Singer, it's great. If you hit Clown, it's great. So honestly, this is a lot of value potentially. It's probably a pretty good card. Obviously, you need to actually have taunts. You need to have a fair number of taunts to make this consistent, because it really sucks if you can't play it quickly. And it doesn't do anything the turn you play it, most likely, a lot of the time. But yeah, it's like, as long as you're hitting something good, it's good. Next, Barrens Scavenger. This is a Warlock minion, 6 mana, 6/6 taunt. If your deck has 10 or fewer cards, it costs 1. So this is probably like a way better, generally speaking, this is a way better, what's the 0 mana 6/6? That card. It's like a way better version of this card, because it's easier to trigger. You're gonna trigger it eventually, right? But you can also just play it as a 6 mana 6/6 strongman. Exactly. Yeah. I think. Yeah, you're just gonna. This is fine. Like, yeah, if you draw it late, if the game drags out, it's really nice to get a 1 mana 6/6. So, and a 6 mana 6/6 is not amazing, I guess, but it's playable. So you probably won't always take this, but it's totally worth the upside. Most games end before 10 or less cards, but Warlock has ways to mill their own deck now, so you might get this a little faster than normal. But yeah, it's probably just going to be a 6 mana 6/6 most of the time, which is, again, not great, but not terrible, right? So it's upside that you'll get occasionally. Next we have Cabal Outfitter. 3 mana 3/3, Battlecry and Death Rattle. Give another friendly minion +1/+1. So it can't buff itself. It can't just be a 4/4. That would be hilarious and awful for everyone. Not awful, it would be really strong. But yeah, I mean, if you're able to, the fact that it's random could be awkward, but I mean, generally speaking, I mean, there's just a lot of stats. And Warlock can often just flood the board, and just, as long as you're hitting whatever you're hitting, you don't really care that much probably. You're just happy to get more stats, so seems like a really strong, it's more of a Zoo-y card, but yeah, if you're playing a Zoo deck, you would gladly be really happy to take this. Next we have, this might be my least favorite card. Wicked Stab. It's a rank card in Rogue. The reason this is my least favorite card, so it starts out being 2 mana deal 2, which isn't great, but then on 5 mana it upgrades into Eviscerate, that you don't have to combo, not that that really matters at that point. And then at rank 3 it's deal 6 damage. So you are going to lose games because you get triple stabbed on turn from 18. That's going to happen. You might get spill damage too. Like, you might die from 21 or 24. That's gonna happen. I don't know that it's okay that Rogue gets access to this, just being honest. I don't know if this is okay. The fact that this goes face is just, man. Oh. This honestly is unfair. Like, this is not okay. Yeah. This is gonna be a really big reason to, God, that's so good. Anyway, next we have Silverleaf Poison. They're adding multiple of these poison cards. So this one is give your weapon after hero attacks, draw a card. So I mean, the turn even if you just put this on like a 2-charge weapon, like a dagger or something, it's 2 mana draw 2 with a slight delay. Seems really good. If you put this on like a 4-charge weapon or even a 5-charge weapon like an Assassin's Blade, then it's literally like delayed sprint. It's just this is a lot of value, so you probably will, and there's poison synergies and stuff, you probably will take this pretty often. Not always, but you'll probably be pretty happy to take this most of the time. Next we have Efficient Octobot. I do kind of like this card. Pull the lever. Wrong lever! 2 mana, 1/4 Frenzy. Reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1. So this is an interesting card, because on turn 2 it's kind of unfair. If you play this on turn 2, you probably actually just win the game instantly. Because like they're not going to be able to deny the Frenzy very likely. And reducing the cost of everything in your hand is really good effect. The problem with this card is that if you play this in late game, they probably will be able to deny the Frenzy, and then you won't get anything, and then it's a 2 mana 1/4, which is garbage in late game. So this card's gonna be kind of inconsistent, but it's probably good enough for the upside that you would just take it a lot over most things. So it's gonna be a card that'll basically win games by itself, but it'll also be completely useless sometimes. Really high variance card, but yeah, an interesting one at least. Next we play, again, like, Frenzies can only go off once, so it's not like you're gonna, you know, you can't go too crazy. You can't, like, it's not like sticking a Thorazane. Next we have Power Word Fortitude. 8 mana spell, give a minion +3/+5, cost 1 less for each spell in your hand. So priests do tend to have a few spells, so this is probably, I think this is just going to be usually a bit weak. Because a 3/5 buff is probably like a 4 mana card, right? It'd be a good 4 mana card. Maybe even a fair 5 mana card. So you need like at least 3-4 buffs to make this good. Sometimes you just have a lot of spells with priests though, so, you know, could be really good sometimes. But most of the time I think this just isn't good enough to pick, but if you had the right deck for it, you would probably take it. One problem is if you have a deck with a million spells in it, then it's really hard to actually get a minion to stick that you can actually pick this. So it's probably not going to be good most of the time. Next we have Void Layer. 4 mana 3/4 Battlecry. For each spell in your hand, deal 1 damage to a random enemy minion. So I mean, I guess this is like going to be like the same idea. You need, like, I guess, like, if you just have 2 spells, you can snipe a Scorpid or something, that would be pretty good. But, in general, you probably want to have at least, like, 3-4 spells. All these for each spell in your hand cards seem to have, like, a similar breakpoint where you need to have, like, 3 or 4 at least for it to be really consistently good. And I think this one's no different. So, yeah, it's gonna be, again, like, a little hard to pull off, but in the right deck, amazing. So it is enemy minions. So. Next we have Apothecary's Caravan. At the start of your turn, summon a 1-cost minion from your deck. So this one is like the this one's actually kind of similar to the Paladin one. The Paladin one gives you 2 1/1s. This one gives you a 1-cost minion in your deck. I think Voidwalker is out. If this could pull Voidwalker, that would be unfair. I could still pull like Flame Imp, right? You tend to have pretty good 1-drops as Warlock. It's probably still worse than the Paladin one. The fact that you're pulling the 1-drops out of your deck can be good, just so, you know, you don't have to draw them. Which, if you don't draw them on turn 1, you probably don't want those cards in your deck anyway. So it's nice that it removes them from your deck. But you can also run out of 1-drops in your deck, so this might not even, you know, pull anything. So I think this is worse. I think on average this will be worse than the Paladin one. Yeah, pulling out Og Merchants and Broom. Yeah, the fact that it's pulling out Og Merchants and Broom might actually be bad too. Have they said they're nerfing Broom, by the way? Or is that not happening? But yeah. And Penflinger. Yeah, I think this is gonna be a little awkward, so you're probably not gonna pick it too much, but it could be good. If you have a million Flame Imps. Next we have Lilypad Lurker. 5 mana 4/5. If you played an elemental last turn, oh, it's a targeted hex. Ooh, on a 5 mana 4/5 body. Oh man, oh that's dirty. So you're gonna be cursed always whenever you have cards like this that you're just never gonna, you're gonna play an elemental and then your opponent
You probably want to actually be thinking about it against Shaman. If they play an Elemental, you probably don't want to play that Proto Drake next turn. This is an epic though, so it's probably... Actually, you're probably not going to want to play around this because it's just too uncommon. Unless they discovered an Elemental or something. But yeah. I mean, honestly, dude, like, you'll just hex anything, right? You'll actually just hex anything, because, like, a 5-mana 4/5, even if you just hex, like, a 3-drop, that's already really good. So you'll just hex anything. You know? If you run out of elementals, you'll just hex whatever they have. That just seems, yeah, it's really unfair. You do have to have an elemental, but... yeah. I think if you just have, like, as long as you draw one elemental with this card's just unfair. So it's just really, really strong. Obviously, you need to have... It's going to be worth, you know, holding elementals. Don't play your 2/2 elemental on 2. Just to be able to play it later to combo this if it's your only elemental. Yes, we do know what's in the arena rotation. It's, I'll link it for you here. The wild sets, it's everything since Ashes of Outlands, Rise of Shadows, and Mean Streets. Next we have Earth Revenant, a 4-mana 2/6 battle cry. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. So... oh yeah, you're right. This can even target cannot be targeted stuff. That's unfair. Oh, because it's the minion targeting, right? Oh man, that's dirty. Not stealth though, I guess. Anyway, Earth Revenant, 4-mana 2/6 taunt, battle cry, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. So I mean, it's a very good card. It's not always good because like if your opponent isn't really playing into it, it's not the most busted thing. But I mean, it does more than a card is supposed to do. Like a 4-mana 2/6 taunt is already like a pickable card. Probably not pickable anymore, to be honest, with how power crept things have gotten. But yeah, like the upside of dealing 1. It's only enemies. Man, they're printing multiple power crept Scorchers in this set. That's kind of funny because Mage is getting 1 too. But yeah, this is just really good. It's an elemental, so it triggers the last thing. So yeah. But it's good. Spawn Pool Forager is next. A 1-mana 1/2 Murloc, Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Tiny Fin. That's just really good. This is like, the Murloc synergy is relevant, and this is almost a Haunted Creeper for 1 mana less. That's just a really good 1-drop. This might be one of the, like, this is one of the better 1-drops they've ever printed, probably. It's just really good. Not too much to say there. Oh god. I thought it was going to be a cute Tiny Fin. That thing is... ugh. Ew. Ugh. Never mind. Next is Field Contact. 3-mana 3/2. After you play a battle cry or combo card, draw a card. So you do need to have battle cry or combos, but generally speaking, you're going to have enough to trigger this. This is going to be like at least, if it's 3-mana 3/2 draw 1, that's okay. You can probably pretty consistently get at least 2 draws, if not 3 off of this. I think you'll get, if you can hold it until like 10 mana, it'll probably on average be 2 draws. So, but you do have to hold it for a while. So it's probably, on average, it's probably not going to be insane, but because you have to hold multiple. You would have to still hold multiple cards. I don't know. A lot of the times you would probably just hold this in Penflinger. Oh god. Oh no. Yeah, it's really good with Penflinger actually. Yeah, you would probably just play this in the mid game for 1 draw, and then if it sticks, you'll probably get more draws, but it probably will never stick. That's probably how you would use it, just getting like 1 draw in the mid game most of the time, unless you have a Penflinger or something. Then you might try to get like 3-4 draws out of it immediately. But yeah, it's a little inconsistent, but it's way too high potential and easy enough to pull off that I don't think I can dismiss this. I think it's going to be good. I think on average it's going to be good. Next we have Stonewall Anchorman. 5 mana, 4/5 Rush Frenzy. Any Rush Frenzy is going to be good. And this one is draw a card. So 5 mana, 4/5 Rush, usually draw a card. You need to be able to value trade, but since you have a 4/5 Rush, a 4/5 Rush is a pretty good minion to be able to value trade something. This seems really good. And if you really, really want to kill something, it's not the worst thing to have, you know, something in it, which is at worst case 5 mana, deal 4, and kill that thing you absolutely have to kill. But worst claw, I don't know what this is. I guess it probably is a worst claw because the claw gives the buff. But it's probably better than Mugger, because Mugger would give you crap so often. I think, yeah, it's probably a little worse than Claw Machine, but it's really good. Really good card. Next we have Whirling Combatant, Battlecry, and Frenzy. Deal 1 damage to all other minions. So if you really want to, you can do 2 damage AoE with this on the same turn. It hits your own stuff, which can be good. Usually is bad, but can occasionally be good. But usually is bad. But yeah, this is 4 mana 2/6. It's like a super. Sometimes the Frenzy might be bad. I guess it's worth pointing out. But like otherwise, I mean, it's like way better than it's another Power Crept. It's the 3rd Power Crept Dragon Maw Scorcher that we've seen. I think it seems like it would be pretty good. You wouldn't want it in an aggro deck, obviously, but it's a good control card. And okay, I think that's it. Went pretty quickly. Made it through I think 73 cards in less than an hour and a half. Nice. I mean, that's it. Thanks a lot for hanging out, everyone, on YouTube. And if you let me know again what you think in the comment section about any of these cards, if you think we're misevaluating anything, or whatever you want to say, really, because any comments help the algorithm. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. And if you want to see the other videos on the core set rotation or the rest of these cards that we did in the previous review, you can go to our YouTube and check those out. Thanks a lot again, everyone. We'll see you guys next time.